Okay, I'd like to call the Ravenna City Council special meeting for April 21st to order. Ms. Greger, would you read the announcement, please?
You are hereby notified that a special meeting of the Ravenna City Council has been called for Monday, April 21st, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. The purpose of the meeting is to discuss and/or act upon Open Meetings Act reminders, council ideas, Ordinance 2025-45 to approve a contract with Verdantis, Ordinance 2025-46 to approve the Tax Incentive Review Council minutes.
Could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Kelfy?
Here.
Ms. West? Here. Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Here.
Mr. Maravich?
Here.
Ms. Michael? Mr. Harper?
Okay, so we do have a quorum. I wanted to just explain the sequence of meetings tonight because it is a little bit unusual. We talked about it last week, but I'll just remind you. We're going to continue this special meeting until about 5 to 6, and I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. So for the first 25 minutes, we'll cover the first two items, mostly the second item. And then we'll adjourn and reconvene around 6 o'clock. I'll switch places with the mayor so he can sit front and center and deliver the State of the City address. And then once he's done with the address, we will convene the Committee of the Whole meeting, whenever that time is, and run through that entire committee meeting. And then once we're done with the Committee of the Whole, we will reconvene the special meeting to take care of the two items remaining on the agenda. Anybody have any questions about tonight? Okay, so the first item is just for your information. I had submitted some information about the Open Meetings Act just for your information. It's always a good reminder when we have public meetings what the expectations are. So I will just leave it at that unless anybody has a question about it. All right, so the main purpose of this part of the meeting is to discuss, brainstorm, whatever you want to call it, ideas. Whether they're strategic, whether they're practical ways we can improve how we do our business here at the City Council. Whatever's on your mind, and hopefully people have been thinking about presenting some ideas. I know I have at least one I'd like to talk about tonight. Mr. Maravich, would you like to present an idea? Or if you're not, I can go ahead.
Oh, go ahead and start, and I'll follow up with you.
Okay, all right then. So I had mentioned a while back that there was, we were invited to participate at the Biomed Middle School for various presentations that groups of students had done. I'm not going to go over the entire prompt or what their assignment was, but I was there, Dr. Calfee was there, Mr. Moskin was there, as well as Ms. Michael. And I found it a really interesting experience. And I think one of the things we talk about, and I know we've talked about it at the comprehensive plan when we did a survey of the school students, is that I think, and maybe I don't want to make it sound too dramatic, but I think sometimes we do take for granted younger people, minors, children, however we want to label them. And I think what's interesting, though, is as we think about planning for the future, we're really planning for them. And I think a critical piece that may be missing is that we don't always include them in the discussion. And maybe we think, well, they're children and they don't really have a say in their own future, or they're not developed enough, not smart enough, not experienced enough to really provide an informed opinion about what the future of their lives or the lives of residents in Ravenna should be. So with that concept in mind and an eye-opening experience at that NeoMed event, what I'd like to suggest in the future is to have some sort of program for the public schools, whichever ones want to participate, Ravenna Public School Systems, Biomed, where we give a fairly simple prompt to any level of, it could be a kindergarten class as far as I'm concerned, but a prompt that basically says, what do you think would be good for the future of Ravenna. So when you're, so let's say you're in 5th grade, when you graduate high school, what would you like to see the city do so that when you become an adult, you would find Ravenna an interesting place to stay and live? And that would be basically the prompt. Just, and I don't like real structured prompts because I think they stifle creativity. And I think if we reached out, especially to the teachers who were involved in the biomed event, I think we might get, because I've talked to a couple of them, and I think we might get some buy-in for this. And then the culminating experience could be for those classes, those students, those groups that choose to engage in that, and that could be over several months. They could come here to City Hall and give a presentation to us, and maybe we can even consider some sort of awards or some kind of monetary, award for them for presenting. But my hope is, if we had a sustained program like that, that over the years, we might be surprised at some of the valuable input they could provide for us. So I don't know if anybody had any thoughts about that, if it's a crazy idea or...
I know Mr. Wonderly, when he was at the high school, he did a fabulous job. I know most of us went and spoke to the classes.
Right.
We went and looked when they did like, what do you want to see in Ravenna? We all went and walked through and did that. I think the struggle for me is that unlike some of y'all, I do work a day job, so it's difficult for me to get to a lot of the school things. We try to get to what we can. And so I don't want you to think, like, when you said that we would downplay or think that they wouldn't understand, like that, that's not it at all. When you, like, why we don't include our younger population.
I was talking to generalities, not us
okay.
here. I'm talking about adults in general.
Yeah, because I think that we
Everywhere.
have, we've had some really great opportunities with youth. Amy and I, this is the first year we haven't done it, where we've had the middle school come and decorate the Christmas tree downtown. So we have tried to do a lot. Do I think a program would be fabulous to do? Yes. Do I think we have the manpower to do that?
Well, I don't know that it would require much manpower. I mean, if a teacher chose to participate and wanted some of his or her students to participate and invited one of us, that's fine, but I wouldn't expect all of us to be going to the school. We're just providing the opportunity. The students themselves would have to do the work, hopefully as a group project. And really all we would do is sort of like receive their presentation whenever they showed up to give it. And we could, who knows how many students or how many groups would participate.
What was the program you participated in when you were younger?
Junior Council.
Oh, there was a lot of it. The Ravenna Youth Council, Councilman Scott Raynone put on. And that was a really engaging program, and it did bring a lot of kids and kind of introduce us to a lot of concepts of government for like what's actually happening at the local level. There were some critiques from, like, the program had selected students with very high credentials, but when you're in high school and you have a lot of things on a resume, it's because those are your current obligations. So it did kind of limit the capacity of the youth council of the day. But we did different fundraisers and stuff like that. But I do recall that it was kind of, we did have a little bit of a direction challenge. It's like, what are we supposed to be functionally doing? It's like, we need a challenge. Like, what are we trying to solve was one of the issues we didn't have a lot of clarity on then. So I think what kind of piggybacking on Rob's ideas, it might be interesting to say, what are some of the real issues that we face? Whether it's we're trying to find nearly $2 million for a fire truck, we've got $25 million on a water plant, and things like that. It's like, here's the actual state of things, and say, what are some different ways you feel for open-ended thinking? How do you maintain, like, what are different ways to approach these different problems? Because, I mean, kids are getting more than word problems about, I have 3 apples, you have 2, that kind of stuff. But I think that if we gave kids a little bit more exposure to the real state of city affairs, they might have some more creative ideas on how to solve it. I mean, kids are more interconnected with the world than they've ever been before. There's probably a lot of opportunity out there.
And I think the state in general is trying to push the idea of civics and civic involvement at a much younger age. So, yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Moskin, did you?
Yeah, I was just waiting till you finished your thoughts.
Okay.
And I don't actually downplay any child or teenager, because when I come across some that I know or don't know, I'll listen to what's in their mind, because you never know what they're thinking and how they're expressing themselves and what they're really captivating to express themselves. And I believe that each one, their environment they're living in, growing up in, what they're adapted to, could be totally different. And the reason I'm saying that is because you never know what they're, when I say consuming, I'm not talking about what they're eating and drinking on a daily basis, what they're consuming as far as knowledge. And I'm going to give you just an example about myself going back about 60 years ago. Now, the reason I'm saying that, I'll put my brother in the same boat because we're 16 months apart. Back then at the library, I don't know how long it lasted, but there was a summer reading club. You were encouraged to read, I'm not sure how many books during the summer. The reason I'm bringing that up is because it was like after you got started, you were just driven to read more and more. You weren't told exactly what to read. You picked what your desires were, and you were actually learning and consuming more and more knowledge as time went on through that summer. I mean, not all boys and girls did that, but it was encouraged, and it was something very good, plus other activities we were involved in. So it was actually expanding our knowledge in a sense.
Thank you. I don't want to monopolize, we don't have that much time, and when we get towards the end of this part of the meeting, I'll ask how people feel this works and see if we want to do it again, because a half hour is not a whole lot of time to ferret out these ideas. But I'll turn the floor over to Jeb.
I'll take it.
Maravich, go ahead. All right.
So I've done some of my ideas aren't exactly legislative based, but it's kind of some structural improvements for what we could do. I think that like when I was out canvassing, getting signatures, a lot of people were struggling with how the city communicates. For example, we know that we're going to be servicing a water line on a street before the morning of. We make all these plans, you know, we approve procurements and things, but still, if you're having your street serviced, you get a door hanger the morning of, and you may not even be home, and you come home and you have to find out you have a boil notice and stuff like that. So we know which parcels and homes are going to be impacted by certain maintenance things. So I think that we could do a better job of doing communication outreach before the last minute for that. And there's probably different, like every department within the city likely has some different capacity of ways that they have to communicate with residents. The water department, you know, you get a monthly bill for that stuff. But there's regular communications, and then there's also like the one-off things or the irregular. It's kind of like if you're doing a monthly budget, what are your fixed expenses versus your variable ones? But I think that we could probably canvass departments and say, what are the things that we want to get out to residents? And there's even some best practice things too. For like the sanitary line, like not throwing down the flushable wipes that aren't exactly that flushable kind of stuff, despite the badging. It's a start, but that's not something that everybody has, just like how not everyone wants to be on Facebook. So
Yeah,
I
a lot
think
of people
that,
don't want it. I mean, I get it.
yeah.
You can
500
only
people
do
signed
so
up.
much, unfortunately, sometimes. Yeah, I know when they just had the road cutoff on Lincoln Street, I was able to see that on Facebook ahead of time and share it on my city council page, and I was able to get feedback from people with questions, and then I sent it to Tim and Bob, and they were able to get back. So with my Facebook page, I'm able to get a lot of my information out to people, but they did post that ahead of time, so I was appreciative of that I was able to at least get the information out, so.
And that's great that you're helping kind of bridge that communication gap, but I feel that there are folks that may have missed the one single communication we sent, or they might not have Facebook. So it's like, how do we make sure that we're engaging with the citizens, say, hey, these are things that are upcoming that may impact you? So there's different platforms that we could look at from like an IT perspective, because like there's different categories of things. Like you might even sign up for updates from a company or something. BenQ makes nice projectors, and I get text messages from them, just as an example. I don't buy all their stuff, but that's just one way. Like you can pick your method of communication, whether it's a text message, whether it's on the app that we have for the city. But like, there's different methods for things too. And some things are, we can just stick in for public notice in the newspaper and that satisfies requirements. But are we communicating effectively with residents would be something I'd like to tackle.
So, and part of that could be technology? Constant contact kind of, approach where.
Yeah, I mean,
like
even
just
if you
said,
could just
could
volunteer to
multiple-
sign up for an email saying like, like, if we know who our residents are, where they live, and if Bob has a project that's gonna involve shutting off water temporarily for this whole neighborhood, how hard would it be just to select a map or those affected parcels and say, send notifications to these people, and then you just say so much in advance, or if it's an emergency thing, maybe we even have like the robocalls and stuff, just so people can be better informed for that.
I think the Civic Ready app does a lot of that. A lot of people just don't want to use it, yeah.
They don't want to or don't know?
I think they don't know.
Yeah.
It's a combination of,
Of both, I think.
Yes.
Mr. Content, do you remember how many people signed up? I thought it was only a couple of hundred or so.
There's about 500 now.
500, okay.
So maybe we need.
Yeah,
Is
but-
there a link
But there's a
still?
link on our website that shows them exactly how to do it. Obviously, if they call up to City Hall, that we give them instructions over the phone. But we really haven't had that much interest in it. It's
So
sort of-
maybe there's something though we could do on our end to help increase that community.
I
We've
think
sent it out in the water
instead of-
bills. We've sent it out in the water bills too.
Yeah.
Sort of going door to door. I don't know what else we can do.
I always think that sometimes what you need to do is provide incentives. I know, working in a college for so many years, getting college students to do anything practical that helped the university communicate with them, we offered them stuff.
Pizza,
So-
I think, was quite
Well,
popular. at Kent State.
yeah, so I wanted maybe a raffle or so. Sign up with our communication system and be entered into a raffle for
A free yard sale. We'll waive the fee.
free yard sale. What is it, $5 for?
Might be 15. I haven't checked it in a while, but.
Well, thank you. So the idea is just to compile some of these ideas and we can return to them. And then nothing's going to happen overnight, but certainly they could be discussed as we move on. Would anybody else like to present something, an idea they've been thinking about? Dr. Calfee?
Not present a completely different idea, but it kind of ties in with communication. As I've listened over the last couple of meetings we've had, I've had to listen to a couple of them remotely. There's been multiple times where we've talked about somebody calling the city to report something, whether it be lawn parking or trash bags not picked up or their gutters not being cleaned out or this or that. I continue to mull over in my mind if we could have some type of central repository for calls and concerns that come into the city, that we're keeping track of them. I don't know if we're getting input into so many different places, the street department or our secretary in the office over here, whether she takes them. I don't know. It's just.
Could it be an automated thing where they just leave a message?
I'm not giving any answer at all. I'm familiar with a city that has a online form to make a complaint or a question, and it goes right into their system and their log. But I don't know. I don't have a solution at all. I'm just saying, I think that might be valuable information for us to know. How many calls are we getting on this? What are our concerns there? I don't know how you do it, but it's kind of related to communication.
Didn't we talk about that before where there was going to be a ticket items that everything was going to be kept track of? Then it was through Quality IT, or IP, sorry, that any type of complaint, whatever department it was going to be put in the system. I remember us talked about that at a meeting, but I don't remember how long ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know whatever happened to that.
There was a way to submit something through the website, but nobody could figure out where it went to.
It doesn't go anywhere.
I mean,
Tried submitting, I submitted my own complaint. I submitted my own complaint to see if it worked, and it doesn't go anywhere. So we have a way to
I
do
knew we
it.
talked about it at one point.
We have a way to do it, we've talked about it, we just need, and now we have Jonathan, so that might be something, I know he's slow slammed probably, but that's something simple he could probably help set up to where if people need something, or even if when Julie gets the call, she can log the complaint that way, so at least we can keep track, because if we're getting like 10 million complaints about rain and nothing about something else, then we know what we need to focus on. Like, we're tracking what's coming in.
Yeah, I think a component of it would be that we would also have to have the ability to put it in to a person that received a call. You know, that's also a part of it.
Yeah.
But I'd like to be able to
Yeah.
track that information. I'd like to be able to know where we're getting those concerns and calls on. When we're talking about tree line parking, are we getting 2 calls or 2 complaints a year, or are we getting 2 a week? I just related to that. I don't have the answers at all.
Well, I
don't have the
mean, but
answers.
bringing up the question does, you know, open up for opportunities, because I know working in a library for so many years, we had a system when people would, you know, either call, come in person, text, or whatever, what we call a reference question. We had a whole sophisticated system about how to categorize them, how long the engagement was, and what the result was. I'm sure a system like that could be developed, and another component could be not just the complaint, but when we have an agenda coming up for a meeting, we could invite input, you know, not everyone can come and attend our meetings, but in advance, instead of just calling the clerk, maybe that would be a way to collect some public input about the work we're doing.
Yeah, a lot
Those
of
are good ideas.
A lot of businesses use what are called customer relations management software. So it's kind of like if you have all of your residents or all of your customers in that space, being able to communicate, like segmenting traffic for like different groups. If it's people that are interested in programs for the rec department, like we could be able to send out email updates to people that say, hey, like I've got kids from like 5 to 12. What programs are available in the summer? And we wouldn't have to just kind of like use the spaghetti trebuchet just to throw out a mass communication and just hope that somebody gets it. But we could say, hey, you could sign up for the types of communication that you want, and that way it's meaningful communication that you're looking for, rather than I have to read through an entire city website, go through a whole bunch of links, and hopefully I find what I'm looking for. So, but I think that we could make it, there's some opportunities to even address our website as well, to make sure that we have like useful information organized well, in a clean format that's easier for people to get to,
Boy, time goes fast.
especially when you're having fun.
Does anybody have a burning idea they want to just throw out on the table for the last couple of minutes we have?
It's not a burning idea, but it's one that I'd like us to just kind of have on the table to talk about. I believe one of the important things that a city provides is recreational facilities for their residents. And I believe, in general, we have an opportunity at Lake Hudson to do a little bit better than what we're doing right now. The lake's a beautiful lake. We do have some facilities that are open like a day or 2 a week to rent boats, I think, to go out there. But kind of like the infrastructure where that is kind of worn out. Some of the picnic tables that are out there are, you know, worn out. I believe that we could develop that into a spot that could be a good recreational spot in the way of canoes or kayaks out there. It's a beautiful spot. There's places around the lake that would accommodate some open space areas. It's a long-term thing, I know, but as we look at quality of life and recreational facilities, I think it's something that, with some expenditure of money here in the way of capital improvements, we could make a nice facility out there, and it's something I think we might want to think about.
Dr. Calfee, you're not far off. I don't know if you've talked with Judy about that or not, but she has, I believe, how long ago was that, where she had talked about getting additional kayaks and having other kayaks, kind of partnering with Kent State. Do you remember that? But part of the problem was whether it would be run under Parks and Rec and the staffing, or with the water plant. Do you guys remember all of that discussion? That
A while ago.
it was quite a while ago, and there was, the problem was, it had to do with staffing and the department that was running it. So you're not far off, and I totally support that idea, because she had really done an extensive background on trying to figure out how to make it work, but it came down to the fact of staffing and her general fund that she, runs off of is quite different. And trying to pay for it was hard. And also with the insurance. And so there was a lot of things that came up, but she was really, she had a really good plan, and I was excited about it,
Yeah.
but it fell through.
Yeah, I believe that there could
I
be
agree with
lots
you.
of reasons why we can't do it, but I've been on a number of recreational lakes that have a nice
yeah.
launch area.
I agree.
The boats are nice, the picnic table with little pavilions there. It's a nice thing. We've got the main part of what could contribute to that, which is a large, beautiful lake.
Yep.
The other things, I think we possibly could work out, so.
There is a pavilion there. It has had some improvements not that long ago. And the big thing is, going back to what Mrs. Michael mentioned about the staffing, there is someone there, but it's not every
Limited
day.
hours, right?
And someone's not there from, as an example, 8 in the morning till dark. So that's where a big chunk of the,
Okay. All right.
yes.
Well, I'm going to have to cut everyone off because we do want to transition into the mayor's address tonight. So if I could I get a motion to adjourn this special meeting until after we conclude the committee of the whole meeting later this evening?
So moved.
Second.
Take a roll call.
Mr. Maravich?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes, sorry.
Mr. Harper? Mr. Harper?
Okay, so we are adjourned. We'll take a little